Are you looking for chess openings which is easy to play and you don't even need to memorize much moves? In this video, I will show you 5 beginner friendly opening for white which you can use to get a good position. So let's get started with our first opening. The King's Indian attack. It starts with the move knight to f3, preventing e5. Black goes d4, you go g3, preparing to fianchetto shadow this bishop. Black goes knight f6, you go bishop g2. Black plays e6, and here you just castle. Black goes bishop e7, preparing to castle. And here you can either go with d3 or d4. I prefer d4. And here I am going to give you some options. Like here you can go c4 to attack the center. Or here you can go b3 to fianchetto this bishop and play knight bd2. Or even here you can bring your knight to the center and push your f pawn to launch an attack on the king side when black castles. Let's move on to our next opening. This opening is Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation. After d4 d5, you go c4, this is the Queen's Gambit. Black plays e6, you go knight c3, knight f6, and here you just exchange these pawns and go bishop to g5. Black goes c6, defending this pawn. You go e3, opening up this bishop diagonal, and after black plays bishop e7, you develop the other bishop, and black castles, you go knight f3, and here you can play according to your wish. For example, here black plays something like rook to e8, then you can castle either way, or create a battery here and exchange this knight and attack along the king side. Let's move on to our next opening. You all know how much theory is in the Sicilian defense, but here let me show you a simple variation which you can play against the Sicilian defense. After c5 you go knight f3, d6, and then here you go with the elephant variation c3. Here black plays knight to f6, attacking this pawn. But here you will go with this tricky move h3, and here if your opponent takes this pawn, then you can play queen to a4 check and this knight is gone. But he will see that, and here your opponent will go knight to c6, developing the knight. Now since this pawn is under attack, you can play d3, or I would recommend you play bishop to d3 to castle on the king side, and your bishop will not be stuck behind this pawn chain. Say black plays bishop to d7, you can move this bishop back, defend with e3, and develop your bishop and continue playing. Let's move on to our next opening. After e4 e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, black goes bishop to c5. This is the Jacobian opening. Here you go with c3, black goes knight f6, and you go d3. White's idea is to move the bishop to b3 in case if black plays knight to a5. He cannot play right away because your bishop will go here, here, and then go back. And your dark square bishop can go on this e3 square to trade this bishop. And your knight will move on to the d2 square. Here there is a popular line, let me show you, which starts with black goes d6, castle, black goes a6, creating room for the bishop, rook e1, bishop a7, and here you go with a4, black castles, and then you play s3, preventing bishop g4. Now let's move on to our last opening. The London system is one of the best opening for beginners players in the quiz pawn game. After d4 d5, here I like to play knight to f3 first. So after e6, you go bishop to f4, knight f6, and then you go e3, They play c5. You complete the pyramid with c3, bishop d6, and here don't trade the bishop. Just move your bishop back. So whenever he takes, you can capture with the h pawn and your rook will open up. Say black castles, you go knight bd2, knight c6, and then you play bishop to d3. And say black plays rook to e8, and here you can play something like queen to c2 and continue your game. This is not the end. Check out this left playlist for amazing chess traps and this right playlist for grandmaster games, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like these.